everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Amadai TV presents Beyond the Realm. So tonight we're going to be talking about unidentified flying objects and aliens. Okay? Now let me get this set up really quick so we can go ahead and get into it. Okay. All right, there we go. So thank you all for tuning in. Let's see who we have in here. Okay. We have Melanated Brown, Kenla, Ayama Bay, okay, Opal, October. Or did I already say you? Yes, I already did. Okay, Jesus is Black Christ, Lynn, Mary Evans, Francine, Don't Need a Man, Stop Telling Me I Do, Millie, Misfits, Bungani is Black. Okay, Kathy B, Goodness Ready Bo, Claudette, M is Blessed. King Avery, Black Power is here. Judah Queen, Woke One is here. Okay. Zanaya, One Who Cares, SMCM, and everyone else. Thank you all for tuning in. So let's get into it, people, because I want to talk about these aliens. Because you know what? My good friend sent me a video the other day of someone posted something that looked like it could have been a UFO, an unidentified flying object. I'm not sure what it was, but it was clearly some strange lights moving across the sky. Okay? Very strange indeed. So, and I've always had an obsession with extraterrestrials and things of that nature. And I have dreams about them, very lucid dreams about them. And in the dreams, they're always coming to get me. It's like I'm walking home in the dark. And they always are hovering over me, shining this light like a spotlight on me. They're there to get me, okay? And one of my moderators, Buginis, told me once that he had a dream about me, that these aliens came and somehow I got in a spaceship. I think I told you all this before. And I was driving the spaceship without any training, no less. And the aliens were chasing the queen. And they were asking themselves, how does she know how to drive this UFO? Oh, it was so crazy. Yes. Okay. So anyway, let's talk about it, people. Abducted by aliens. Believers tell their stories. So we're going to talk about some people who actually seem to have had encounters with aliens. Now, the first story was in August the 17th of 2009 in a small New England town. Members of a support group boasted a group of membership of 1,500 people that gathered for a secret meeting. They said, I want to let you know that you're not alone. That's what the group leader said. Now, twin sisters, Audrey and Debbie, who have asked that their last name and hometown be withheld as not to have, people knowing who they are and thinking they're crazy. They said, it was a long, tiresome battle. It's impacted my life tremendously. I'm still in therapy. Now, the group that assembled for this meeting was not struggling with alcohol, drugs, sex addiction, or gambling, or anything like that. They're part of a Starborn, an alien experience and awareness support group, catering to those whom they say have actually been abducted by aliens. Aliens known to anal probe, Chinese anal swabbing. Is there a connection? LOL. Boy, I'm going to leave that alone. I never thought about it, but that is a good question, honey. I might have to look into it. Okay, so this person says they're still in therapy. Now, the group that's assembled, they're as a support group catering to those who claim to have been abducted by aliens. Now, many people have wondered, and earthlings living on a speck of dust alone in the infinite universe, or are there other intelligent life forms out there in the cosmos? Okay, nearly half of all Americans and millions more globally believe we're not alone, according to a 2000 ABC poll. Now, while 40 million Americans say they have seen or know someone who has seen an unidentified flying object or a UFO, a growing number believe that they've actually met with aliens. Now, Aubrey and Debbie not only said that aliens exist, but that they've met and made contact with them. The twins said it started when they were very young. So one of them says, I was probably about 5 years old or so, and a bright blue light would come into the room and the door would open, and there would be like a foggy kind of misty blue lights just shining through the whole house. This is what Aubrey said. And those two figures would come in. There would be a tall one. They had black capes, but they were bald and had huge eyes. Now, Aubrey and her sister called their visitors the bald men, but they're better known in UFO circles as the Greys, a race of extraterrestrials categorized by the grayish color of their skin. Now, the twins first encountered aliens, they said came during childhood and continued into adulthood. They also believe that they've been abducted together on the same spaceship, or to compare stories afterwards. Only to compare stories afterwards. Now they say, we have been together on abductions. We have been up in crafts and seen our house from above. So we realize that we are not from here. We realize they are not from here. They are very good at mind erasing, or whatever you want to call it. They'll leave you with bits and pieces of things you can remember. So we do remember certain things of being there together. When asked why aliens would come to abduct them together, the twins had no explanation. They say, that's the question I always ask myself. This is what Debbie says. A lot of times I'll wake up in tears saying, why me? Why me? Why can't this happen to somebody else? Now they say extraterrestrials can embody people's fears. No matter what anyone else believes, people like Aubrey and Debbie are convinced that what they've witnessed is real. One of them says, I remember one time being on a spaceship and standing there on the spaceship, and the floor and the walls just completely disappeared. And I was staring at the earth. They said they realized their stories sound too fantastic and at times like the stuff out of sci-fi blockbuster movies. Now, in science fiction, aliens are often anthropomorphic and benign creatures like E.T., My Favorite Martian, or the classic Star Trek television series, or the hit movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But extraterrestrials can also embody people's fears, looking radically different from human life. Pop culture depictions of aliens don't seem to be slowing down. On cable, there's the acclaimed miniseries Torchwood, Children of Earth, where the aliens' sinister thoughts are spoken through possessed children. And then they say ABC will be adding a new series to the list of those creatures from outer space. Now, Terrell Copeland, a former U.S. Marine, traveled the farthest to attend the secret meeting, driving 600 miles from rural Virginia. Copeland's foray into the paranormal began 2 years ago with a UFO sighting that he said was captured on his cell phone from his apartment down in Suffolk, Virginia. He said it was an orb of lights, just a big ball of lights. It wasn't moving. One was solid white. The other was directly across the street from it, up 300 feet above the ground, and was changing colors very rapidly. This is not unusual. Something's wrong here. Maybe I am in over my head. I'm not supposed to be looking at this stuff, he says. He drives a forklift at a warehouse for a living, and he recalled thinking that he shouldn't be seeing this. Now, but after the video of what Copeland said he witnessed in the sky, it was posted on YouTube. He said a stranger came to his front door. He says, I woke up from a nap by the sound of someone trying to enter my apartment. And I said, who is this? There was no answer. Still just, you could see the doorknob moving and like a scratching at the door. And I keep a firearm. It was on my table, and my thought was to get up and check. Now, I was in complete paralysis. The only things I could move were my eyes. And I heard a voice through the door say, you don't need that weapon. We won't harm. Say what now? Honey, can you imagine? Soon after, Copeland said he started experiencing what he calls missing time. During a span of 2 nights, Copeland said he missed 4 hours, not as a result of sleep. Now, let me tell you something. This is what numerous people who have been abducted or claim to have been abducted, this is what they say, that they lose time. And you know why they would lose time, people? Because I'm going to tell you something. There is no such thing as time. You see, in this realm that we dwell in, time is a man-made construct. There's no time in the spiritual realm. In other realms of existence, there is no time. So they would seem like they lost time when they come back. And it seems like, things are, it's like the next day or whatever like that. Even people in those national parks that I told you about that come up missing. Killer said, say what now? So even in the national parks, when people have come up missing and then showed up days later, they said they lost time. I'm telling you, that's because other realms don't even have time. It doesn't exist. Okay? So it goes on to say, spiritual transformation. He says, when you see these objects and then you do the research and you see there are so many people who have experienced the same thing as you, you have to say to yourself, maybe there is something to this. With the number of unexplained UFO sightings mounting, Copeland began keeping a log and sketching what he believes he witnessed during the missing time episodes. He said, I was in my room and I saw a woman who could not have complete human features, or who did not have complete human features. He recalled from the night that he said he was abducted in 2006. He says she had a typical black eyes that you hear about. She had an elongated skull, and that startled me. And the next memory I have is me standing on my balcony waving at this cylinder-shaped ship. Now, Copeland said that his experiences with aliens have spiritually transformed him. He says, I just want to be a better person, because if I feel if someone from above took notice of me, then maybe I'm doing something right. And if I'm doing something right, maybe I can do it better, he says. Now, Copeland's otherworldly convictions are shared by thousands of believers. Hundreds flock to the National Convention of the Mutual UFO Network, or it's called MUFON. It's in Denver, and some people go there to share their experiences with like-minded believers. Now, Sarah Tussle, a single working mother and cum laude graduate from college, has been reluctant to talk about her close encounters with extraterrestrials. She says, I'm not necessarily fearful. I'm a bit nervous about how people may react. I do believe that I have experienced contact with non-human intelligence. Tussle said she has videos and scars to prove it. She says, I've had multiple witness sightings or experiences, but also marks that would show up on my body, scars like the ones on my finger. I woke up one time with red diagonal lines. I've woken up with handprints and fingerprints that I couldn't have made myself, and nobody else could have made them either. When asked if she's simply a more vivid dreamer than many other people, Tussle said, I don't know if dreaming would cause a stigmata type effect where you're getting bodily scars or marks. Now, Tussle, an education consultant, blogs in her spare time about UFOs and crop circles. While many have been proven to be man-made hoaxes, she believes some crop circles may be the result of an alien spacecraft or extraterrestrial communication. She doesn't care for the phrase alien abduction, opting instead to call herself an experiencer. She says, I don't believe I was taken against my will. I believe that all of my life, I've been prepared to share information and to experience information in contact with non-human intelligence. Now, psychologists say media images reacted in dreams. This is what they say. But she prefers to leave the details of her experience to the imagination. She says, I don't want to go into too much detail on certain kinds of beings that I saw because of the graphic nature of some of the things that I saw and experienced. Now, when Tussle and others are thoroughly convinced, or while they're thoroughly convinced, Psychologists say the media-generated images of alien kidnappings can become easily ingrained in our subconscious, and then vividly they're reenacted in our dreams. What tends to be similar is they come in the night. They take you someplace, you're in a spaceship. This is what Harvard University psychology researcher Susan Clancy says. Now, the aliens tend to look the same, which is that sort of greenish triangular head, big eyes, and they perform medical or sexual experiments on you. Clancy and Richard McNally, who conduct psychological research examining false memories, believe a common disorder called sleep paralysis can explain why so many self-proclaimed abductees are absolutely convinced that what they've experienced is in fact real. She says a lot of people had it. A lot of people who think they had, think they're going crazy, or think they were with aliens, or think that there are ghosts out there, they're actually kind of freaked out. Experts say sleep paralysis, the feeling of being awake but unable to move during sleep, is quite common. Sufferers say they feel as if they're totally paralyzed, a symptom that parallels with abductees like Copeland describing during her experiences with alleged extraterrestrial life. How many people, put a 1 in the chat, have experienced sleep paralysis? How many people have experienced that? Put a 1 in the chat if you have experienced sleep paralysis. Okay, now I don't recall hearing that either. Okay, a lot of people put 1. Yes, I've experienced it too. So they're saying that's sleep paralysis. But I'm going to tell you like this. When it happened to me, I wasn't asleep. So they're talking about sleep paralysis as in that you're asleep and you wake up or you're half awake. And so you could, that's the reason they sometimes say that you're not able to move because you're half awake, but your brain's woke and your body's not, or something crazy they'll say. But they think that is something to do with your sleep. I didn't attribute it to aliens. Well, I didn't either, but I did attribute it to paranormal activity. Okay? Because I was wide awake. I could see and hear, but I couldn't move anything but my eyes. And then I saw spirits. I saw these creatures come into my room. This was years ago. It was 3 little short creatures. It was 3 of them. They were really short. And they came into my room. I could see them, but I couldn't say anything. And I kept trying to say something. And finally, I was able to say something. They witch riding your back. Yes. That's what the older people call it. I think it's something clearly nefarious. Okay. I don't know about aliens, but clearly something not good. That's all I'm saying. Because as soon as I called on the Most High, they disappeared. So I believe it was demonic. Absolutely, TJ. I believe so too. Especially when I called on God, honey, on the Most High, and they disappeared. Yes. Now, so they go on to say, a lot of people who think they're going crazy or think they have encountered aliens or ghosts or something, they get freaked out. Now, Copeland says, I couldn't move. I was in complete paralysis, and the only thing I could move were my eyes. Clancy herself suffered from sleep paralysis and admitted that the feeling was so powerful, for a moment she was almost also convinced that her visions were real. She says, it was so powerful at the time. While I'm levitating in the air, that's what it felt like, and spinning like a rotisserie chicken. I had this feeling that something was, there was some type of presence, and I was thinking, oh my God, it's real. But then it was over and I woke up. But for the majority of believers, Clancy says her visions are likely facets of her own imagination. The abductees or experiencers told ABC News they spoke to reject any scientific explanation, asserting that their belief that what they've been through is real. They say, I can't sit here and tell you that I'm 100% sure what I say happened, that it actually happened. It could be sleep paralysis, but I highly doubt it. I can remember vividly where I was, what I was doing, and I was not awake. I could feel I was actually there. Well, they said they weren't awake, so I don't know. So that's all weird. Yup, no aliens take black people, no probes. That's the thing. They don't take black people. Out of all the research that I've done, there was only one instance where I recall a black person being abducted by an alien, and that is because he was married to a white woman, and they took him and his wife, they found them on a dark road, and they took them up into the spacecraft, according to them. And so the husband said they didn't bother him, but they took his wife back there and had her on this like a gurney or whatever, and they were conducting all kinds of experiments on her. So that's why I believe the aliens are black. Now they call them the Greys, but from a lot of research that I studied, they say they're black. I've heard astronauts say that they're black. I've seen a video of some kids over in some part of Africa, I believe, or some country. It was white kids. And they said they saw aliens when they were outside at school or something one day. I'm going to see if I can find it. But they said those aliens were black. Tall and black. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Everyone, please get the likes up. This might be it. Hundreds of school kids saw a UFO and were ignored for 50 years. It's the largest mass UFO sighting in Australia, yet hardly anything was reported at the time. Over the years, there have been differing reports about the exact details of what occurred on April the 6th at Westall High School, such as people claiming there were 3 saucer-like objects, while some thought there was just one. In the 52 years since the incident occurred, In the 52 years since the incident occurred, there has been worldwide speculation about what people saw, with some believing it was absolutely an alien encounter and others pointing the finger at the government testing new technology. Now, throughout all of the years of speculation, there has been one particularly interesting piece of audio that was greatly overlooked. An American physicist known for his research into UFOs, Dr. James E. McDonald, conducted an interview with a science teacher from Westall School, Andrew Greenwood, who witnessed the event. Now, McDonald then recorded himself describing what their meeting and the creepy details that Gravewood gave about his experience. Gravewood told me the UFO was first brought to his attention by a hysterical child who ran into his classroom and told him there's a flying saucer outside. He thought this child had become deranged or something, so he didn't take any notice. But when the child insisted that this object was in the sky, he decided to go out and have a look for himself. When Greenwood went outside, he noticed a group of children looking towards the northeast area of the school grounds, and he approached them. He claims as he approached, he saw a UFO hovering close to a power line. Greenwood described it as a round silver object about the size of a car with a metal rod sticking up in the air. According to McDonald, Greenwood then told him that 5 planes came and surrounded the object as more people began gathering to watch the scene before them. He called it the most amazing flying he had ever seen in his life. Now, the planes were doing everything possible to approach the object, and he said how they all avoided a collision, he will never know. Every time they got too close to the object, it would slowly accelerate, then rapidly accelerate, and then move away from them and stop. Then they would take off after it again, and then the same thing would happen. This sounds like how I was driving that spacecraft in Buginas's dream. I'm serious. But let me continue. Suddenly, the UFO shot away and vanished within seconds. And it was at that point that the headmaster came out and ordered everyone back to the class. Now, over the years, there were reports about the government trying to cover up the incidents and stop witnesses from talking. That's what they do. But Greenwood claimed it was the headmaster that first tried to squash discussion of the incident. he gave the school a lecture and told the children they would be severely punished if they talked about this matter, and told the staff they would lose their jobs if they mentioned it at all. Now, the teacher claimed the headmaster was so scared and disturbed by the incident that he refused to come outside until the object was gone. When the Royal Australian Air Force contacted the headmaster, he told them to go and jump in a lake. There have been claims from several witnesses that sharply dressed men, listen to this, there several witnesses said that sharply dressed men in black suits visited them and warned them about speaking about the incident. Now y'all know where they got that movie with Will Smith talking about the men in black. So warned them not to talk about the incident. Now this lines up with a few experiences that Greenwood had when he tried to speak with other witnesses about what they saw. He says at the time of seeing the UFO, he was a complete skeptic himself. Now he had never even considered the possibility of their existence. But when he asked the physical education teacher to describe what she had seen herself so that he could compare it with his own observation, she just wouldn't say anything. Greenwood then reportedly spoke to one of the older students who described the event in great detail, exactly as he had seen it, but he spoke to her again half an hour later and she wouldn't say a word. Greenwood didn't think it had anything to do with the headmaster's threat, as no one usually took him seriously. And he knew for a fact that the student he spoke with didn't attend the meeting where he had made the threats. McDonald's description of his interview with Greenwood offers rare insight into the events from the eyes of someone who was an adult at the time. There continues to be speculation over what actually happened, and the site of the encounter has been turned into a memorial park to reflect the 1966 Westall UFO incident. Okay, looks like they have a video, so I'm gonna share my screen. Everyone, please get the likes up. Please like and share the video so that we draw more people into the algorithm for the viewing.
Recently, in recent editions which have referred to certain sightings in Australia, I've detected quite a bit of exaggeration and a lot of misquoting. In the last APRO bulletin, which incidentally published my photograph, round the wrong way, as a matter of fact, there were several reports emanating from Australia. I've got the APRO bulletin in front of me now. There was one particular report which emanated from the Westall High School. I don't know whether you're familiar with this report, but the science master there, two other members of staff, and about 300 children watched a UFO manoeuvring around over Westall, and at the same time watched 5 aeroplanes from the local aero club doing everything they could to intercept the UFO. Now, in the APRO bulletin, it's headed "Officials Quash."
I don't know about y'all, but I couldn't really hear what he was saying. Yep, men in black all around. Woo, I thought for a moment we were looking at one. Hey, Two-Time McCall. So this is all crazy, but let me tell y'all something. And that's the same school that I saw the kids, because the kids were interviewed and they came in. Somebody had posted this on Instagram months ago. The kids came in one by one, and when they were asking them what they saw and to describe what they saw, those kids were talking about they saw aliens, not just a UFO. This is probably a different school, because I could have sworn this school that I saw the kids being interviewed was in Africa, but it was white kids. And they were saying that the people on the spacecraft were black. Okay? But anyway, let me continue. Let's talk about Admiral Byrd, because that's a very interesting story. Oh, no. Let's talk about these cattle with all the blood drained out of them. Queen, show this, please. This man talks about aliens being black. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for, honey. Hold on. Let me see if I can get this in the chat. Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to get this chat working. Where did it go? Okay, there it is. Hold on. I'm trying to copy and paste it, beloveds. I can't click on it or anything. All it does is put it up on my screen. Can you tell me the person's channel this is on? Put the person's channel in the chat so I can go find it. This man talks about aliens being black. Let me see if I can go on YouTube and find it. Hold on. What the hell? Hold on, people. Hold on. He's a NASA engineer. I think I've seen him before. He did say they were black, right? Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Norman Berggren. Okay. Let's see if I can find it, people. I don't see that, but I see Oprah. It says Oprah delights at the fact or the thought of aliens being black. Hold on, let me see. I see someone named Norman Grable. Hold on. I wish I could remember the astronaut's name. Hold on. Oh, you know what? Whoever just had that link, send it to my email. Send it to my email. QueenAShakur. Send it to my email, and then I can open it from there. Okay? Because I can't do it in the chat. If you can just send it to my email really quick, yeah, then I can show it. All right? Send it to QueenAShakur at gmail.com. Okra, nobody listens to her even. Yes, she is. Absolutely, Kendla. Absolutely. Yes, that's the email. Thank you, beloved. Okay, so let's talk about, in the meantime, let's talk about these cattle being found with no blood left in them. Very strange. It says, who, if not aliens, is sucking every drop of blood from these cows? Now, this summer, some spooky shite occurred in Eastern Oregon, per NPR. 5 breeding bulls showed up dead on a ranch with every drop of blood sucked from their body and with their tongue and genitals surgically removed. Now, the mutilated bulls look like giant deflated plush toys, according to the report, which frames the death as eerie and mysterious. But the culprit behind the murders couldn't be more obvious. It's aliens. And the country law enforcement investigating the murders undeniably know this. According to NPR, Harney County Sheriff's Deputy Dan Jenkins has ruled out that it was bears, wolves, cougars, or poisonous plants that were involved in the bulls' demise. He also noted that the animals were not shot. In fact, Jenkins even acknowledged the alien theory, and he didn't deny it. They said a lot of people lean toward the aliens, he told NPR. One caller had told us to look for basically a depression under the carcass, because he said that the alien ships will kind of beam the cow up and do whatever they're going to do with it. Then they just drop them from a great height. Understandably, this theory might be unsettling or even incomprehensible to alien skeptics or deniers, but there is really no other explanation. Now, while the murdered bulls were pricey, $6,000 a piece to be exact, why would a human only want their blood, genitals, and tongues? Furthermore, the report points out that other incidents of dead cows turning up bloodless one out of which dates back to the 1980s. They say, hold on. So unless there's some deranged person out there who's been mutilating bulls for nearly 4 decades, it seems like a single human is not to blame. If all of that's not convincing, consider this. This additional piece of information. The FBI won't confirm or deny whether it is looking for the deflated bulls. Interesting. Whether they're looking into it. So they won't confirm or deny whether or not they're looking into it. But let me tell you something. A few years ago, in the UK, there were some people that were complaining about their cattle turning up dead. And the cattle had all of the blood drained out of them as well. And there was like a small incision, I believe, in the forehead or the neck. And all of the blood had been drained. And around the same time this happened, several people who lived within 5 miles of each other, that didn't even know each other, supposedly, they said that they had seen aliens the night before. One woman said a tall alien about 7 feet tall. She woke up out of her bed. It was speaking to her telepathically because she said she was asleep. Something awakened her. She got up and she walked through the house and she went and looked through the patio door, and there was a tall alien standing there looking right at her with big eyes. And she said the alien told her without moving its mouth, it said, "Woman, go back to bed. You do not want to see this." Okay? Very suspicious. So that's all crazy. Now, let me see. Did you all send me that link? Let me see if that link's in my emails. I don't see it. Okay, so anyway, let me move on. Send me the link if you can, please. I really want to see that video. Okay, now listen to this. Hold on. Okay, so close encounters of the chilling kind, nightmares or real. Some out of this world stories of alien abductions. Now, the nightmares just won't stop, or they wouldn't stop. The sudden, bizarre, unsettling nightmares. They were always the same, and they seemed almost real. Lee was sitting in a booth in a small, empty room with gray walls. A monotonic voice behind her said, "Don't move, or you might get hurt." She felt paralyzed. She heard clicking noises, like an X-ray. Hold on. She heard clicking noises like an X-ray machine. Suddenly, she was lying on a table and a bright light shone in her eyes. She sensed people moving around, examining her. Then she was sitting up facing a short creature so hideous, she could not look into its face. From a box, the strange being removed a shiny needle. At the tip was a silver marble. The creature moved closer toward her. At that point, Lee would jerk around the bed, terrified and drenched with sweat. She screams, and her screams would awaken her parents. But her mother, Lee recalls, would always admonish her. It was just a nightmare. Everybody has them. You shouldn't watch all of that scary stuff on TV. That's what her mother would say. Now, Lee now believes it wasn't just a nightmare. She believes it was real. She is one of the people whose stories you might expect to see in a supermarket tabloid under the heading, Humans Who Believe They've Been Abducted by Aliens. Now, Lee is 25, lives in Prince George County, works at a bank, and is engaged to be married. She is thin and has blue eyes. She is, in her words, average looking and average in every way. Knowing that most people react with scorn and ridicule about the mention of UFOs and extraterrestrial life, she asked that her name, her last name, not appear in the story. Now, she says, I used to think that I belonged in a mental institution, to be honest with you, but I don't think anymore that I'm crazy. I go to school, I work full time, I pay my bills like anybody else. I think other people think I'm crazy. Is what she says. Now, the subject of abductions by space aliens is so far out, so utterly fantastic that most people, even in their wildest imaginations, cannot begin to fathom it. Many will not take it seriously. It's unbelievable. In fact, it's unthinkable. The subject is also deeply disturbing. These are not pleasant stories of people out here raking leaves, suddenly being beamed up by a UFO, subjected to a little Cosmo comedy and sent back to their yards chuckling. It's not like that. They say these are more chilling accounts of people who say they've been kidnapped, confined in spaceship examination rooms, probed, prodded, and examined by aliens who seem primarily interested in sexual related activities. So a bunch of freaks. Their stories more resemble reports of rape than they do a heartwarming visit by ET. Now, around these alien abduction stories, an industry has been launched. It soars far beyond the tabloids. There are best-selling books, popular films, and primetime television shows. Mental health professionals gathered at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology last summer for a conference on abductions. Now, in Maryland and across the country, many blossom support groups where people who believe that they've been abducted can share their stories away from the ears of those who might think or exploit or be titillated by their anguish. And of course, there are the scientists, from the internationally known astronomer Carl Sagan to a Navy physicist from Maryland, and a plethora of researchers lining up along either side of the highly charged issue. Now, they say what's really happening, no one really knows for sure. Something has shattered Leah's and others' calm, secure existence on planet Earth. Whether the rest of us accept or reject their stories is relevant. We can assuage their fear. It is palpable, and the torment is real. Now, Leah's began when she was only in the 4th grade. She remembers it very vividly. She was outside her apartment in Prince George's County, playing with her sister and other children. It was dusk. They heard a hum, a buzz, like a swarm of bees. They saw a disc-like object, wingless, silver gray, and a row of lights along the edge, creep at the treetop level of the apartment complex. It hovered above a parking lot between buildings, and then it drifted away. Leah and her sister ran inside to tell their parents. The girls even drew pictures. She says, my father wanted to call somebody, but my mother said no. She said we'd made it up. But both of us saw it. We talked about it for days at school. Shortly after that, Leah said the recurring nightmare began. She dreamt it on and off for a decade, from when she was 10 until she was about 20. Dreams are only part of her story. When she was 12 or 13, and her sister, who was 2 years younger, was staying at their grandparents' house in St. Mary's County. They were in separate beds in the same room when a ball of lightning, as Leah describes it, passed through a window and curtain right into the room. Now, about the size of a tennis ball, it glided between the beds, bounced off the floor, and vanished. A couple of seconds later, another lightning ball did the same thing, and then another. Leah said there might have been at least 20 of them in all. She and her sister screamed. 5 other people were in the house, but no one heard them. Lee finally escaped into the hallway. Her next memory is of waking up in the bed the next morning. None of this made sense. She says her sister remembers the balls of light as well as the UFO over their apartment building years before, but her sister Leah says, won't talk about it with strangers. Now, for a long time afterward, Leah feared she was losing her mind. But then 5 years ago, she and a friend went to a mall outside a bookstore. Leah spotted a display of books, the covers of which featured a drawing of a grotesque creature with big black almond-shaped eyes. The book was Communion. The writer was Whitley Strieber's account of his abductions by aliens. Leah pointed to the drawing and screamed, "Oh my God, that's them, that's them." They were the creatures in her nightmares. That's when it registered. That's when I said, wait a minute, something's going on here. It was the first she had heard of abductions from space creatures. She read the book and then a couple of objects on the shelf, and a couple of others on the subject. She became convinced that the terrifying events and nightmares, the nights of lights, perhaps other unexplained events as well, had all been abductions. Some researchers estimate that thousands, if not millions, of humans have been abducted and studied by aliens. They based this estimate on a 1991 survey of 5,947 Americans by the Roper Polling Organization. The survey was commissioned by believers that the abduction phenomenon. So this is all crazy. So they go on and on. I'm not going to read all of that clearly. I wish I could show you all how big, but I'm out of here. Okay. If you think Jesus is real and UFOs are not, you're twisted. Oh, shite, I don't do spiders, especially big ones. Okay? That's real crazy. I wonder if some of their stories are exaggerating, especially the sexual assault part, like they do with Black people a lot. No telling, right? Okay, so let's talk about Admiral Byrd, and then I'm going to wrap this up, okay? Now, Admiral Byrd was like an explorer, and he claims that he went to this place in Antarctica, and he saw these alien beings. This was back in the 1930s or 40s, I do believe. Okay? Admiral Byrd. Yeah, I believe this is it. The Strange Hollow Earth Case of Admiral Byrd, Richard Byrd. Now, there comes a time when the rationality of men must fade into insignificance, and one must accept the inevitability of the truth. I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation at this writing. Perhaps it shall never see the light of public scrutiny. But I must do duty and read and record here for all to read one day. In a world of greed and exploitation of mankind, we can no longer suppress that which is truth. This is what Admiral Richard Byrd wrote in his journal. Medal of Honor recipient Admiral Richard E. Byrd allegedly wrote this encounter with lost civilization in Antarctica. Okay, he had an encounter with these people that clearly he said were a lost civilization. Now, according to the Hollow Earth theorist, Byrd met an ancient race underground in the South Pole. How was this left out of Byrd's mission? Operation High Jump. Could it be one big hoax, conspiracy theorists, or is people who love to fantasize? Well, according to Byrd's diary, the government ordered him to remain silent for what he witnessed during his Arctic assignments. Now, this occurred on March the 11th of 1947. This is what he wrote. He said, "I have just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I have stated fully my discovery and the message from the master. All is duly recorded. Now, the president has been advised, and I am now detained for several hours, 6 hours, 39 minutes to be exact. I am interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal. I am placed under strict control via the national security provisions of this United States of America. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. Incredible. I am reminded that I am a military man and that I must obey orders. Now, after many polar accomplishments, Byrd organized Operation High Jump in 1947. The objective, construct an American training and research facility in the South Pole. That is what he was supposed to do. Some days, the American government sent their troops to the South Pole for any evidence of the rumored German base 211. Nazis were fascinated with anything regarding the Aryan race. They traveled all over the world, including Antarctica, to learn more of alleged origins. Now, the Germans did make their mark in the South Pole. However, what they have discovered doesn't compare to what Byrd recorded in his diary. For thousands of years, people all over the world have written legends of Agartha, sometimes called Agartha or Agarthi, the underground city. Now, did Byrd find it? Well, he met the master, the city's leader, who told him of his concerns about the surface world. And this is what he wrote in his diary. It says, our interest rightly begins just after the race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was that alarming time that we set our flying machines, the Flugerads, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. Now, this is what the aliens were saying to Admiral Byrd. He recorded this in his diary. So they told him after they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, this was alarming. And so we sent our flying machines, which they call Flugerads, to your surface to investigate what your race had done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity. But now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for your man, mainly out of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the power of your world, and they did not heed. Apparently, the government knew about Agartha before Byrd did. Now, according to the master, places such as Tibet, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and the North Pole all have tunnels leading to Agartha. Now, what else did the master teach Byrd? What about the rest of the Operation High Jump crew? Byrd didn't uncover the underground world alone. Whether the whole hollow earth story is fact or fiction, it's great to imagine there are still hidden civilizations out here in the world. Let me tell you something, honey. They just touched on the tip of the iceberg. Okay? They didn't really tell the story. Hold on. I think I have some footage of Byrd, actually. Hold on. Let me make sure. Okay, that's not it. Anyway, let me say this. So Admiral Byrd, supposedly, when he went over there to the Antarctic, he saw like a huge wall of ice. And there was a hole in the ice. So when he looked through it, he saw a whole nother world on the other side of it, like land and everything, trees, flowers. And he saw these people who didn't really look like humans, but they were a race of people. So he actually stepped through the ice, right? And he was talking to these people. And then there was another time. No, I take that back. He didn't step through it. He was in a helicopter. And he flew through. And he said as he flew through, he was hovering in the air. Like the helicopter wouldn't move. It was just like suspended in air. And they finally were motioning for him to land. And he said slowly the helicopter just started going down to the ground, just descending down to the ground. And when he got out, these beings were talking to him and basically telling him about the things that were going on with Earth and with the war and all of that stuff. So it was all crazy. You should really look it up. Okay? Sounds like the aliens have a problem with wannabe white supremacy. That's the same thing I was saying, right? And notice they used the word barbarity. Did they not? Okay? So this is also interesting. Yes, Enlightened One Kingdom. Wow, right? Yes, they do have those tunnels. Absolutely. But hold on. Speaking of tunnels, did you all hear anything about Bill Gates has a house underwater? Have you all heard about that? Because somebody was mentioning that to me today. Now, I can't confirm it because I haven't researched it yet. But somebody told me that today, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I thought that was crazy. Yes, he took soldiers that ended up crashing into an invisible barrier. Okay, I do believe I recall reading something about that. Okay. I believe that something is here on Earth with us. I'm presently researching this because someone I know is being attacked by something unseen, but has power to incapacitate. Sounds spooky, Felicia. Studying Byrd led me to flat Earth. Okay. This is all crazy. I got the slippers out right now. I'm not sleeping in there until this big ass thing is dead. Oh, a spider? Is that what you see? A spider? Just step on it. Beloveds, hit it one good time with your slipper. Hit it a couple of times and then get something like a paper towel, pick it up, drop it in the toilet, and flush it. I heard Bill got a DUMP. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a dump that you're trying to say? Nope, hadn't heard it, but it wouldn't surprise me either. Absolutely. So listen, people, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and conclude this broadcast, okay? But let me say this. I've never seen aliens, but I definitely do believe in them, and I've heard and read enough stories. And if you ever get a chance, you should read a book by Jim Marrs, the late Jim Marrs, one of the best authors as it pertains to, conscious things. He wrote a book also called Ruled by Secrecy, talking about all of the secret societies and things. But his book, Alien Agenda, is where he talks about different types of aliens and things like that. So very insightful. So deep under military base, okay? I don't believe in killing anything living. Oh, okay, Too Tall McCall. Well, I sure believe in killing bugs because I hate them, okay? Especially spiders. Just saying. But with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you like and share the video. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Now tomorrow I will be going live on the root of all evil, okay? I'll be going live on the root of all evil about the same time tomorrow night. With that all being said, thank you so much, Queen. You're welcome. Jesus is Black Christ. Thank you. So I wish you all love, peace, and prosperity. Enjoy the rest of this night. And I hope to see you all at 9 a.m. in the morning for your morning wake-up call. So until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.